This is the Tesla Model 3, the 2024 refresh. A lot of people call it the Highland. It's not actually in the name, but this car, I've only been testing it for a week now, but I've noticed lots of little differences. The main way you can tell this car apart from the now ubiquitous Model 3 is the new, distinctively angled headlights that point right in your face. But there's so much that's new to this car that it really feels like a worthy flagship. I know the Model S is the higher end and it has the Plaid variant and all the performance and all that fun stuff. But this is the car that people will know and see most often as Tesla, which is the Model 3 and Model Y, so you can assume this is their most important car, and now it feels like a mini Model S, so let's see everything that's new. So first of all, like I said, aesthetics is really one of the important issues. So when you see those new sleek slim headlights, that's how you know you're looking at the new Model 3. But this is also actually a new paint color, ultra red. I can really appreciate it. There's also the new stealth gray color, but I like the ultra red color. And right off the bat, the nose slopes down a little bit, and it's always been a really simple car, but you can really see it now. It's a little more aerodynamic, which should give you a little better range. I drove the car for a few days, averaging just under 300 watt-hours per mile, and at full charge the range was 330 miles in this cold weather. Now, its range is the Tesla's 330 miles, so you're probably going to get about 290, 285, something like that, but it actually has a similar range to what my Plaid gets, is quite impressive. So the new drag coefficient is officially 0.219, and this will mainly come from the front of the car and the places exposed to the most air. From the side it still looks like a normal Model 3. Maybe you can see that the front shape is a little different with a slightly lower nose, but the wheels have also been updated a bit. I really like this ultra red color. But yes, it looks just like the Model 3 from the side until you look to the rear, which is where you'll see the new taillights. And they're also quite distinctive and angular, and I think quite beautiful. This might be an interesting one. There is no Tesla logo, it just says Tesla on the back. And at first I didn't really like it, but I started getting used to it. So the only Tesla logo is actually on the front hood, and if I want to open it, the power lift gate is the same as always, and you have a pretty decent sized trunk. But now you'll notice that those taillights are one piece, so if I close that up, you'll see that the entire taillight is uninterrupted in the tailgate. So it doesn't have any gaps at night, you just see a constant light, and I like that. 1 AC dual motor. This is not the performance trim, for now this is just the standard Model 3 and that's the back. But again, most of what's new with this car is subtle, and a lot of it is on the inside in terms of quality, materials, and ride and feel. Much more. It's just better, higher quality all around. So I'll start with the door because that's really the first thing you'll notice. So the handle is the same and the way you get in is the same, but if you've seen German cars, you've probably seen this little notch before and this little part here that plugs into the door. Overall, the entire door around the cabin is better sealed, and that makes this car much quieter to drive and even when inside. I will close the door behind me. You probably couldn't tell, but it was pretty quiet. And so overall, this really still has the same very recognizable feel as previous Model 3s, but everywhere you look, there are a lot of little things in the premium direction, in the comfort direction. Roofy and a bit luxurious, not very sporty. And we'll talk about what I think might apply to this performance version of the Model 3 maybe a little later, but let's look around. First of all, here is the new steering wheel. I think this is the only thing anyone can complain about because you can immediately see that there is no longer a stem. So the Model 3 always has a stem while the Model S and X do not. Now there's no need for blinkers and no steering, so if you want to switch to driving, you step on the brake and swipe forward or backward like the Model S, or, fun fact, actually, there is your prindle here. If it's real, I don't think most people will use it, but in case the screen doesn't turn on, that's how you shift gears. But the rest of the steering wheel is the buttons on the steering wheel. So on the right side, that would be the windshield wipers, which you can also switch to automatic mode, dictate with your voice. And then this will turn on the autopilot, and if you want to increase or decrease, that will be the distance between you and the car in front when in autopilot mode. Then on the left, there's your flasher. The left or right flasher is now on the steering wheel in the Model 3, the headlights, and of course, your media and volume. But that doesn't mean that in the middle is a regular horn, not a button on the steering wheel, and it's a wheel that's pretty close to being round. So there are some things that people will like and there are some things that people will definitely have to get used to in order to like stemless things. But again, for me, this is what the Model S Mini is about. So you look everywhere else, improved materials and build quality. I like this Alcantara, it's nice and soft. You have all the switches like you usually do and doors to get in and out. Up here is just your vent, but it's like this fabric, which looks pretty unique. Obviously you're going to have a lot of cars with screens here, so it's just a very clean simple open space, but I quite like this gray fabric. And around the car, you will pay special attention while driving is this LED light system. So this strip of lights goes around the front, around the side of the car, and yes, you can change the look of it just by dragging it around and changing the color of the LEDs. There is purple, there is red, there is yellow. It looks pretty nice at night just because it's, again, constantly around the car. And of course this is the main center console. This monitor has a faster and more responsive computer. Like all the software and everything you do on this car is faster than ever and often even faster than I remember, which is awesome. And that's always worth noting because Tesla has literally had the best software on any car other than CarPlay or Android Auto for years now. Also, you might notice that I have a new view of the parking spot I'm in. If I move forward a little bit, you'll see it zoom out. That's the new high-fidelity parking assist. It's not a 360 camera but it's pretty close. It gives you a heat map of things around you. You can see the parking line in the parking lot where you are, and then you'll see this little object that has this temperature based on your distance from the object behind you. So now I'm close to the curb so that's why it's red. It's pretty good, I mean it's been completely improved with the Tesla Model 3. Here, these front seats are also softer, better, heated and ventilated. The back seats are also heated. But now I'm going to show you something else in the back seat that you might like even more. So this is the back seat of the Model 3. It has the same amount of space as before, so if I sit behind the 6'3" driver position, it's not a lot of space but the floor is flat in the middle. But look, what a gorgeous flat touchscreen that, in fact, has some pretty thin bezels right behind it to control all the airflow and HVAC devices, and even a bit of media. Traffic if you want, in the back of this car. This is a better way to experience the backseat. Honestly, this makes a huge difference as a backseat passenger in this car. I've been in the back of a lot of Model 3s that used to be Ubers and the like. You still have LED lighting here. Again, I like that these rear seats are heated if you want them. And then there's glass overhead with plenty of headroom. It's not quite the seamless glass of the Model S and X, but it's what we're used to with the Model 3 and Y, which still have a lot of glass. Well, let's go back to the driver's seat because there are a few things that are significantly upgraded right after driving this car. The Model 3 is an easy car to drive. I think it's very simple. I know it's a no-brainer now, but in general, for electric cars, this is probably the easiest one to calibrate for one pedal when driving, smart network charging, in general. But two things, one is in terms of sound. It's a lot quieter here when you're driving, which is great. And then there's the softer, noticeably softer suspension. This may cost you a bit of a sporty feel. Honestly, I think the old Model 3 had a somewhat harsh, sometimes stiff, coil-over suspension, and I think many owners would agree with that. And this has made really big strides for more comfortable driving, and it also has a significantly tighter steering radius, which hasn't really been advertised, but that's really nice to see. And then there's the much improved speaker system, so the speakers in this car. Just driving around this quiet cabin, listening to these speakers is so much better than before. This really looks like a mini Model S. However, if you're a Model 3 fan, you'll have some hits that you're already familiar with. The wireless charger is up here, the key fob, and this is the center console storage compartment, a big spot in the center console. And this one doesn't move around like the Model S, but there are two cup holders that you can always close like this and that. So you still have the same front trunk space as before, you still have the same rear trunk space as before, and to be honest, even the camera quality, these cameras when you look at the camera feed from the car, looks much better. I can actually see the raindrops with much higher fidelity when I'm driving this car and the blinkers come on. This is good, man. This is a good car. So I think the general question you might be asking is, should you buy this car? And the only thing I'd say is that if you're considering something like a performance version of this car, consider what you want to do most of the time while driving. I think when driving on the road this is great. For most street driving, this is fantastic and it's very, very quick. I'll try to find an official 0 to 60 time or some horsepower if I can, but for a car with this much range and a great charging network, this is EVs are very fast. To me, a performance version really only accomplishes two things. Obviously the ability to have a track mode and be able to dial in, control your traction to be a front wheeler or a real wheeler, or change the slipperiness, or have a bit more fun. Little while driving, and then maybe go back to the firmer suspension for that type of oriented driving. But as for the non-performance version, this one, it's complete, it's great, it's a flagship, it's a mini Model S, it's refined, it's well built. I am very impressed with this new Model 3. Let me know what you think. Is this the car you were waiting for? I've been looking forward to seeing it in America for a long time. It's like Europe first and then gradually getting here. Now it's here and I'm glad I got to check it out because it's good, man. This is a car that I would easily recommend to anyone looking for a first electric car. That's where I'll leave it. Let me know what you think.